Hey everybody, Scout Crafty here again. It's Wednesday, and today we are going to do a nice little project. It's funny, last video I asked you to pick out a one of the tools from Joel's great tool lineup, and it's funny. Now I'm going to let you on to a little secret. Even though I say it's Wednesday, it's actually Monday. Okay, it takes a couple days to make the video, to download it, to edit it. You know how it is, and so today is actually Monday, so I wanted to get a head start on the project. And so when I came up with this, and I sent the picture to my girlfriend, I said, which one of these tools do you think my viewers are going to pick of all those tools? And she said, I like the Cleaver. And I said, please. I said, come on. You know, I should know better, right? And to ask her, I said, I'm telling you, they're going to pick that massive screwdriver, you know, that square shank screwdriver, because that's kind of what we do here. And she's like, I don't know, I like that Cleaver. I was like, forget, I don't even know why I asked you. So sure enough, today's video comes out, and I'm looking through the comments. You got it. Cleaver, do the Cleaver. So let me show you what we're talking about. Of all the tools, the great tools that Joel sent over, I was almost certain that you would pick this one, you know? It's such an iconic screwdriver. I know we did this a while back, but come on, look at this, right? But instead, I still find it funny. This is what you picked, and I understand. You said, hey, let's do the Cleaver, okay? Let me tell you a little bit about it. So I had to research it a little bit. First of all, this is called a superior, it says superior warranted Cleaver. These were right around somewhere around the early 1900s they made these, okay? And basically it was a high carbon steel stamped Cleaver. Not much to it. Typical problems with these Cleavers is a lot of times the handles would loosen up and crack, and we'll address that because this one here is loose, but there seems like there's a pin holding it on. So now here was my question. You know, usually I prep myself and think, how do I want to approach this? Now, this here is it's riveted on, this piece here. Now, usually it's riveted on from this is super solid and tight. It's done with a factory machine, and we're going to try and clean up around, because there's no way, when you have steel this thin, there's no way we can get a polish. Look at that, huh? There's no way we could get a polish out of this thing like you're thinking, you know, like a mirror pit finish. But we're going to do the best we can and see if we can make this into a using Cleaver. This is a meat tenderizer on top is what that was. And so let's see if we can, what we can do about taking it. Okay, our first problem was that this pin is not a through pin, okay? It only goes in just enough to hold the handle on. So we had to dig around to get a hold of that pin. There's no other way to do it. And here it is. You can see I have the pin moving, and there's the pin, the actual pin. Okay, now this handle will, yes, it comes off. And okay, you see these two slivers of wood? Okay, this is interesting. These two slivers of wood here were put around the handle at the time of manufacture to take up the space when they put the handle on and then pinned it. You see here how the holes match up like that? So that's how they did it. You know, this is a common thing when you have a small flat item that you're trying to fit into a round hole. You try and make this round to take up any space and wobble. It didn't work because most of these handles did loosen up over the years, but that was before they had any kind of filler or anything. Here's your ferrule cap we have here, and then you could see here, as far as the tang goes, you know, it's in good shape. So let's take this to the wiper, see what we can get as far as cleaning it up. Okay, as you can see, I'm looking at this and I'm like saying, I don't know. It's going to be so difficult to work around this part. It's got to come off. And I hate to take it off, but it's got to come off. And I'll have to figure out some way. It's not even thick enough that we could do our little standoff or, you know, type of screw rivet. So we're going to have to just take this off and then figure out what we'll do later on. maybe after lunch I'll come up with something. So let's take this off the way we normally do. We'll drill these out and take these off, and then we can get much better at getting around this. You know, I don't want to work around it. There's always going to be spots. To do it right, we got to take it apart. Okay, we got it off. We had to drill all the way through these rivets. They were really on there, and you could see through the years of rust and grime that they were placed on. But now we have the regular blade, and we could treat it as such. But remember, there's some pitting on this blade. Here's after the wire brush. You could see the pitting goes pretty deep, so it's not a thick blade. We don't have a lot to play with, but we'll try and do the best we can to make it into a usable item again. And you see the name here, Superior Warranted. We won't be able to keep a lot, you know. I mean, some of that's might go, but this is what we're doing. Let's go. You know how I'm a stickler for pits, and I just can't deal with it. I hate pitting. So like I said, you got to keep going. You got to keep going, and I think I might have just went a little too far on this one. Okay, as you can see, everything's coming good. You can see here it says, here we have meat tenderizer, pending. And on this side here, which is really cool, it has a date. Can you see that date there? April 1907. How cool is that? But like I said, I think I went a little too deep. But I think we could save it. I think there's some saving here. It's shiny. That's the key. Start working on the handle now. And remember, we chowed up that area, so I drilled it out to 3/8 of an inch, and then we're going to put this here, this little plug in, and I already took the center out with the lathe, so that when we put this blade, this knife goes in here. And when we put the blade in, you'll see the hole lines up. Let me see if I can get the light here. Let me get the light. Okay, you see when we push the blade in, you see how that hole lines up perfect? And then we put that plug in there, and then I made a new pin. This is the same pin we used for that wrench the other day. And we'll put that pin in, and that'll fit in within that plug, and it should look good. Okay, now it's time to put our little meat tenderizer back onto the blade. And now, here's the situation. You know, we have to make rivets. So now, the rivet is a really important part of the look of this whole cleaver, because it you know, it's one of the first things you see. So if you put you know, you try and bang over a piece of metal, it doesn't look right. So we want a nice domed rivet to especially on the front part, and then on the back I like the same look. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a two-piece rivet. The first part will look like this here. You could see it's just we're going to turn this on the lathe, get this diameter exactly to here, and make this nice so it gives you a nice appearance. And then we're going to make a second part that's just a disc with a hole in it, and it's going to have a tapered hole like this, so that when we squash the top of the rivet down, it'll fill that gap and give you the seal. So hopefully that'll work out. Let's try it out. Since we're going through the trouble of making our own rivet, we're going to want to make it accurate, and it's important to get the right shaft size. This is called a pin gauge set, and basically what it is, it's a bunch of different pins, all the way from a very small size, you could see here, 0.061, all the way up to 1/4 of an inch here, 0.250. So we went through these pins, and I need one that fits through here snug, so that it don't fall, very snug, because this way when we put pressure, that's what really holds it. If you have too much slop in there, it's, you know, it's going to be loose on the blade. We want this nice and tight. So we have to turn our shaft of the rivet down to 0.149 thousandths of an inch. And that's what this is, a great thing to have, is a pin gauge. Now this is where your outside spring calipers come into play, because what you do is you turn these down here, you spin this little knob, and it closes the jaw, as you can see here, and you do it so that it's just passes through very lightly. See that here? Just like that. Now that is set at a 0.149 thousandths. So when you turn it on the lathe, you just keep turning until this passes through over like that, and then you know that's the size you have, so you don't have to do constant measuring. Old-timey trick. Okay, here's our parts that we made. Here's the rivet with the top of the head here, and here's that little piece that'll fit on. See how tight fit it is? And then we'll peen that over, and it'll give a nice appearance on the other side. We'll just have to cut it to length, and you can see how tight this is here. It's really, you know, it's so tight because of the... And then when that expands a little bit, this will be a really nice look and finish. Now, you know my favorite part. Remember what this cleaver looked like before we started. And we're calling this project done. I have to tell you something. Mentally, I was not ready for this project. I did not expect you to pick the cleaver. I had to really, really focus to get this done. And, you know, I even made a totally newbie mistake. See if you could pick it out before I tell you what it is. Anyway, let me tell you what we did here. We obviously did the handle in a nice... This is the kind of reds they used to have years ago that they did put on a lot of handles. And this is just a red paint that was put over the handle. Came out nice. Look at a nice job on the ferrule here. Filled this with JB Weld, the whole cavity, before I put this in, then pinned it. And did a little black around the repair that I did for a little visual contrast. You could see here, now I didn't go with a mirror finish, but, you know, I was able to get out the majority of the pits. Remember, the pits is something that, you know, actually you wouldn't want them for food, you know, for food safety, but, and kept the integrity of the blade. I think it looks really nice. Now, here's the jaws. A lot of people are asking, what's this for? It's a meat tenderizer. And, you know, we do have a chef amongst us in our group. And, you know, Ben, Tool Addict, is a chef. Now, I said before that this was a meat tenderizer. It says meat tenderer on here, patent pending. So that was before they got the patent. And remember, we said that the April 1907. And... Now, I was really proud of the rivets. Look at the rivets that we did here. Believe it or not, this took the longest part of the whole job. It was getting these rivets to look factory, you know. But here's the funny thing. Have you picked out the mistake I made yet? Because I'll tell you something. To get these rivets, to get this on here, to get it solid and the way it was from the factory, I had to do at least 10 or 15 fittings. And I kept saying in the back of my head, make sure you don't goof up. And I did. I reversed them. They're equal, so it don't matter. But the meat tenderizer was supposed to be on this side, and meat tenderer rather. So I reversed them, and that's, you know. But there's no way I'm going to go through that 2-hour job again. So sometimes, you know, when you're doing this, and again, I'm in a rush to get this done in a 2-day turnover. But you could see the rivets, though. Didn't they come out nice, you know? And that's a tough thing. Rivets are always a job, you know, and to make them super, super solid, bang them down. It is sharp, but you don't make cleavers really sharp like a regular knife. Let me show you what it looks like. Cleavers are mostly meant for chopping. That slightly curved blade is good for rocking back and forth. And here we have my Telltale. You can see here the test we do with the cardboard. It does cut very nicely. But again, you don't want it super sharp. It's meant for chopping, things like that. You want a convex grind, and here is a very strong grind. But this is something now I would trust, and we got it perfectly straight. This is something I would trust in my kitchen, whereas a lot of times, you know, with certain knives, you don't know where they came from. Can we imagine the history that this thing went through, you know, in all these years? Pretty amazing when you think about it. So in closing, definitely another project that looks a lot easier than it was. And special thanks to Joel Jacobson for sending in today's project, along with some other ones. And thank you for suggesting it. And if you could, just one other thing before you check out, please leave in the comments just what state you're from or what country if you're not from the United States, because, you know, a lot of us that read the comments would like to know, you know, who's from where and, you know, chime in on that way. So what state you're from or what country. Thanks so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Have a great day. Take care now. Bye-bye.